Welcome to this first tutorial about cinematography presented to you by Escape Studios and myself, Clement Garini. Let's dive in. In this first part video, we will explore what is cinematography and perhaps more importantly, why do you need it? Historically, a cinematographer is the person on film set in charge of creating the picture of the movie from a technical and an aesthetic point of view. So practically speaking, cinematography is the art and science of lighting and the control of the camera, from the lens to the sensor. Cinematography is effectively the discipline that captures the world and turns it into a motion picture. So why would game artists, visual effect artists, and animators need cinematography so much? The answer is actually right before your eyes and can be found by simply looking a little bit further into what we do respectively, but also what we have in common across those disciplines: game, animation, and visual effects. Whether we deal with live action sequences, or animated characters, or interactive world, we are all creating images. That's the common ground. So game artists, visual effect artists, and animators are effectively image makers. In other words, we are cinematographers. The scene, be it real or virtual, is central to everything we do. It would typically contain an environment, a character or a subject, and crucially, light. It may be stating the obvious, but without light, there is nothing to see. So you may have great 3D modeling skills, but if you don't have any cinematographic skills alongside your specialism, no one will ever know. So being able to design and control the lighting of your scene is effectively as important as your primary expertise. But lighting is only half of the equation. The next step is how to capture the scene, and that's the job of the camera. Let's have a closer look. Cameras, be it real or virtual, are made of two key components: the lens and the sensor. You may actually question why we need cameras in our virtual worlds. That's simply because to turn the 3D scene into an image, effectively pixels, you need to define a standpoint, a perspective, a field of view, and that's what the virtual camera does for you. And these virtual cameras in our favorite 3D software such as Maya perfectly replicate the parameters of a real camera, and that's because the purpose is the same: to capture the world, be it real or virtual, and even in the case of visual effect, combining both. And that's why we all need to become cinematographers on top of being an animator, being a game artist, being a visual effect artist. In this schematic representation of the camera, I've outlined the parameters in blue and yellow for their respective influence upon the light and the composition of your image. As for the element in orange, those are artifacts, not parameters. It's actually important to understand the difference between parameters and artifacts. Parameters are values and factors created by design in order to control aspects of your image. In contrast, artifacts are visual byproducts or incidental consequences of the parameters with which you control your image. So artifacts are essentially unwanted. But after more than 100 years of filmmaking, cinematographers have learned how to harness the aesthetic power of artifacts. The depth of field, for instance, is an artifact or byproduct of three combined parameters: the focal point, the focal length, and the aperture. We will explore in detail those parameters and artifacts as part of our Cinematography for Digital Arts at Escape Studios. See you soon!